What if I told you that two ordinary bicycle mechanics achieved what the greatest scientists and richest inventors believed was impossible? Imagine living in a world where no airplanes existed. People traveled by horses, trains, and ships. The idea of humans flying through the sky sounded like a fantasy. Many experts confidently declared, "Humans will never fly." But two brothers refused to believe those words. They had no university degrees. They owned no giant laboratory. They had no wealthy investors. All they had were curious minds, determination, and an impossible dream. Their invention would shrink the world forever. This is the inspiring true story of Wilbur and Orville Wright, the brothers who taught humanity how to fly. The Wright brothers, learning to fly. Wilbur Wright was born in 1867, and his younger brother, Orville Wright, was born in 1871 in the United States. Their father, Milton Wright, was a bishop who traveled frequently for his work. Whenever he returned home, he often brought unusual gifts for his children. One day, he arrived carrying a small toy unlike anything they had ever seen. It was a tiny flying helicopter made from paper, cork, bamboo, and rubber bands. When the rubber band was twisted and released, the little toy lifted into the air. The brothers stared in amazement. The toy flew only for a few seconds. But those few seconds planted a dream that would last a lifetime. Instead of putting the toy away, they tried to build larger versions themselves. They quickly learned that making something fly was much harder than it looked. Yet failure only made them more curious. Curious minds never stop learning. As children, Wilbur and Orville loved solving problems. They built kites. They repaired broken objects. They read books about science and engineering. Most importantly, they observed birds. They noticed how birds tilted their wings while turning. They watched hawks glide without flapping. They studied every movement carefully. To them, birds were nature's greatest engineers. If birds could fly using the laws of nature, perhaps humans could learn those same laws. Many adults dismissed such thoughts. The brothers never did. Different paths, one dream. Wilbur was quiet, thoughtful, and deeply analytical. Orville was energetic, creative, and loved experimenting. Their personalities were different. But together, they formed an extraordinary team. Each brother balanced the strengths of the other. Instead of competing, they cooperated. Whenever one found a problem, the other searched for a solution. Their partnership became their greatest invention. Building a bicycle business. As young men, the brothers opened a bicycle repair shop in Dayton, Ohio. At first glance, bicycles and airplanes seemed unrelated. But bicycles taught them valuable lessons. They learned about balance, steering, mechanical precision, weight distribution, moving parts. Every bicycle they repaired improved their understanding of engineering. The small business also earned enough money to support their experiments. Unlike many inventors, they financed their own dream. Every repaired bicycle helped build the future of aviation. Inspired by earlier dreamers, the Wright brothers admired German aviation pioneer Otto Lilienthal, who had successfully flown many gliders. When Lilienthal died in a flying accident, many people concluded that human flight was too dangerous. The Wright brothers reached a different conclusion. They believed the problem wasn't flying itself. The problem was control. Anyone could build something that briefly left the ground. The real challenge was steering it safely through the air. That realization changed everything. Instead of focusing only on engines, they concentrated on control. Searching for the perfect place. The brothers needed a location with strong, steady winds and soft sand for safe landings. After careful research, they chose Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. The area offered powerful ocean winds and wide, open dunes. Life there wasn't comfortable. The weather was harsh. Mosquitoes were everywhere. Strong winds constantly covered everything with sand. Yet the brothers happily accepted every inconvenience. They had come to learn. Not to relax. Learning from failure. Their first gliders didn't perform as expected. Some flew poorly. Others crashed. Measurements from existing scientific books turned out to be inaccurate. Many inventors would have trusted the published data. The Wright brothers trusted their own experiments instead. Back in Dayton, they built a small wind tunnel. Inside it, they tested hundreds of wing shapes. They carefully measured lift and air resistance. Their homemade wind tunnel produced more accurate information than many scientific institutions possessed at the time. Failure wasn't stopping them. It was teaching them. The secret of control. After thousands of experiments, the brothers discovered three essential methods for controlling an aircraft: rolling, pitching, yawing. They invented a technique called wing warping, allowing the airplane to tilt during turns. Combined with movable rudders and elevators, the aircraft could finally be controlled in 3 dimensions. Today, every airplane still relies on the same basic principles of flight control, though modern aircraft use ailerons instead of wing warping. The brothers had solved aviation's greatest puzzle: building the flyer. Now they needed an engine. Existing engines were too heavy. Instead of giving up, they built their own lightweight engine with help from their mechanic, Charlie Taylor. Every part had to be carefully designed. Too much weight meant failure. Too little power meant failure. Months of work finally produced the perfect machine. They named it simply the Flyer. It looked fragile. Its wings were covered with fabric. Its wooden frame seemed delicate. Yet inside it lived one of humanity's greatest dreams. December 17, 1903. The morning was cold and windy. The brothers carried the Flyer onto the sandy ground at Kitty Hawk. A few local witnesses gathered nearby. Orville climbed aboard first. Wilbur steadied one wing. The engine roared to life. The Flyer moved forward. Then, something extraordinary happened. The airplane lifted into the air. For 12 seconds, it flew 120 feet. Today, that distance seems small. But on that day, it changed history forever. Humankind had achieved controlled, powered flight. The brothers completed 4 successful flights that day. The final one lasted 59 seconds and traveled 852 feet. The impossible had become reality. Few people believed them. Surprisingly, the world didn't immediately celebrate. Many newspapers ignored the story. Some reporters believed it was a hoax. Others thought flying machines would never become useful. The brothers quietly continued improving their aircraft. They knew that true success required more than one historic flight. It required reliability. They kept building better airplanes year after year. Soon, flights lasted minutes instead of seconds. Then hours instead of minutes. People finally began paying attention. Changing transportation forever. Governments became interested. Military organizations recognized aviation's potential. Businesses imagined faster travel. Soon airplanes carried mail. Then passengers. Then cargo. Within only a few decades, airplanes connected continents. Journeys that once required weeks by ship took only hours by air. The world became smaller. Families reunited more easily. Trade expanded. Cultures connected. The Wright brothers had transformed human civilization. Humble inventors. Despite becoming famous, Wilbur and Orville remained remarkably humble. They never claimed to possess extraordinary talent. They believed success came from patience, careful observation, and continuous improvement. Wilbur once said, "It is possible to fly without motors, but not without knowledge and skill." Those words still inspire engineers today. A lasting legacy. Sadly, Wilbur died in 1912 from typhoid fever at only 45 years old. Orville continued improving aviation for many years. He watched airplanes become faster, stronger, and more reliable than he had ever imagined. When he passed away in 1948, airplanes had already transformed the world. Today, millions of people fly safely every day. Modern jets cross oceans. Rescue helicopters save lives. Cargo planes deliver food and medicine. Astronauts even travel into space. Every flight traces its history back to two brothers working in a bicycle shop. Final message. The Wright brothers teach us that impossible dreams often begin with ordinary people. They weren't famous scientists. They weren't wealthy businessmen. They were curious mechanics. They asked questions. They studied nature. They accepted failure. They improved every mistake. Most importantly, they never stopped believing. Many people laughed at them. Experts said it couldn't be done. History proved otherwise. The next time someone tells you your dream is impossible, remember two brothers standing on windy sand dunes. A wooden airplane. A 12-second flight. And a dream that lifted all of humanity into the sky. Because every great achievement begins the same way. With someone courageous enough to believe the impossible. The end.